Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Brett Butterfield, and I wanted to talk to you today about an incredible, exciting movement that's happening right now in our country, United States of America. On Friday, August 2024, health advocate and presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made a public speech in which he created this new movement, Make America Healthy Again. In this speech, he talks about the abysmal health conditions of America and especially that of our children. And he really wears his heart on his sleeve. I'm going to put a link to his speech in the description below. He's a very eloquent speaker and he's doing several interviews every day. He's got encyclopedic knowledge and I don't have that ability, and so I'm going to be using an aid here today. But so I've been thinking about this a lot over the past month. A lot of what he quoted were from Casey and Callie Means, an interview that they did with Tucker Carlson. Now, already I've said a few names that might trigger a few people. If you really don't like Robert Kennedy Jr. or you really don't like Tucker Carlson, I'm going to invite you to put that aside for now because we have a very important health crisis that we need to resolve, and we all need to come together to do that. And kind of the phrase that really embodies this that Robert Kennedy used at the end of his speech. He said, "We have to love our children more than we hate each other." So I'm going to invite you to do that. Any political sentiments you have, go ahead and set those aside for right now. So when Casey and Callie Means did their interview, you have to know Casey Means is a Stanford Medical School alumni. She was top of her class and she became an ENT surgeon. Okay, so it's a very prestigious medical doctor, and she had it all. She had a great career ahead of her. And at one point she decided, this is like a lie. I'm not really helping people. I don't know this person I'm performing surgery on. I don't know what made them sick. And so I don't really know how to get them better because this person had come back multiple times. It was a very good interview. It's a little bit longer. I'm going to put the link to that interview below as well. Even the first 10 minutes would be well worth your time. So her brother Callie Means is a lobbyist, or was a lobbyist, and he was working for the food industries and for the medical industry. And so together they're quite the pair. They have a lot of knowledge of both health and then the other side of the system that is making us unhealthy. Okay? So those are great interviews to watch. Let me catch up here real quick. Okay, so why am I making this video? One, I do want, if I have any influence, if I have any ability to reach more people that have not been reached by this message, I want you to become aware. I want you to know about this movement and about how you can help your family and your children and yourself, okay? I'm standing in solidarity with these people, with Robert Kennedy, Casey and Callie Means. We need to love our children more than we hate each other. We need to put aside all of our differences. And I invite all of my naturopathic colleagues to do the same, and all of the chiropractors, and all of the nutritionists and functional medicine doctors, anyone who is at all aware that the medical system is not working, then we need to all come together, put aside any differences in philosophy. We need to come together on this. Now, I just said the medical system isn't working. So what evidence do I have for that? I'm going to get to that real shortly here. Let's see. Okay, I actually am ready. So America spends by far the most money on healthcare in the world. It's at least double of any other country per capita. And despite that, we have some of the worst health outcomes in the world. How can that be possible? And I've been quoting a statistic from the World Health Organization for years. The only problem is it's now become an old statistic. So when I was quoting it, I was saying America spends more money. It's number one on the amount of money that it spends, more than any other country in the world. So you would think we'd be high up in our health outcomes. But if you look at the health outcomes, for that study, it was number 37, like behind Costa Rica. It's like, how are we competing with some of these third world countries, essentially, when it comes to health? And the updated studies are much worse. Okay? We are now 97th. We're ranked 97th in health outcomes, behind Mongolia and some of these very poor countries. Okay? So what are some of these health outcomes? Well, I guess let's say one more thing here. During the COVID pandemic, we had the worst outcomes. We had more deaths than any other country. Again, how can that be? They talked about the greatest risk factors for mortality of COVID was pre-existing conditions. If you're overweight, if you have diabetes, if you have asthma, respiratory conditions, all these different things, they make you much more predisposed to have serious outcomes with COVID or fatality, okay? I made a series of videos during the pandemic saying it's time to get your health in order. This is not a secret. We know that those pre-existing conditions were the ones that predisposed you to a worse health outcome. Despite a lot of people talking about this, I didn't really see a lot of evidence in my practice that, and from my social circles, I didn't see a lot of people running to go work on their health. Now, granted, I understand it was a time of crisis and we're all trying to just take care of our families and so forth. But it is really time to get our health in order, okay? And here's some statistics to back that up. So 74% of Americans are now overweight or obese. So obesity itself won't kill you, but it does predispose you to many other health conditions. It is a risk factor. All right, and it'll also diminish your quality of life, put a lot of wear on your joints and so forth. We have a 50% child obesity rate. Half of Americans have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. This is one of the top 10 diseases for what kills Americans, diabetes. There are other, and arguably almost all of the top 10 killers are related to metabolic disorders. So you could make an argument for cancer, depending on who you talk to. Cardiovascular disease, very strongly related to metabolic dysfunction. Kidney failure, very closely related. I'm going to talk about a few others here. Alzheimer's, losing your mind, is now considered type 3 diabetes. Okay? It's a metabolic problem. There's been an explosion of many neurologic disorders. 1 in 22 children in California have autism. Here is a shocking statistic to me, is 77% of our kids are too disabled to serve in the U.S. military. Okay? We don't have a healthy country. I would argue that the wealth of a country is in the health of its people. If we're not healthy, we can't be industrious, we can't produce, we can't reproduce. Infertility is also through the roof, okay? So what's happening in our country and why isn't this in the headlines every single day? Why are we allowing this to happen? Let's bring up some more statistics. About 18% of American teens have fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease, when you have accumulation of fatty tissue in your liver. That can progress into a disease called cirrhosis, when your liver becomes scarred and ultimately leads to liver failure. Another one of the top 10 killers in the United States. There's a point I want to make here, and it's you watching this, I can almost guarantee you think you're getting away with your habits, okay? You think you're getting away with eating junk food, with eating excess sugar, with drinking too much coffee or alcohol, and a little bit of those things can be okay, but we're living off of these ultra processed foods. We're going to talk more about that. You think you're getting away with it, but you're not. It catches up to you, and we can see that because we have the worst health outcomes in the world. We're behind Mongolia. We're number 97. Okay? So cancer rates skyrocketing. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. And 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall for ADHD. 500,000 children. 500,000 children are on SSRIs, which is an antidepressant. Okay? So I have talked about a little bit what is the cause of this. Why are we having this epidemic of disease, of chronic disease that did not exist 50, 60 years ago? Okay? What is the cause? It's our daily lifestyle, diet and lifestyle, exercise, drinking water, sleep habits, bowel habits. Okay, it's all these really simple daily things that add up and make a big difference. Well, I'm going to put the most burden on our diet for the purposes of this, and this is what was referenced by Casey and Callie Means and Robert Kennedy. So ultra processed foods, 70% of American children's diet are ultra processed. This means processed sugar, processed grains, and seed oils. Okay, so seed oils are like canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower, safflower oil, which are orexic oils. They make you want to eat more food. So this is something that these food companies, you can't trust the food companies, and really obviously we can't trust these government organizations that are regulating them, because we can just see by the outcomes, and then also by the fact that these foods themselves, they try to make them cheap and addictive. Cheap and addictive. They want you to eat as much as you can. Keep eating beyond your body's normal desires, before your normal satiety and so forth. Okay? So they want to make food cheap and addictive. There's a lot of toxic chemicals in our environment and in our food, in our medicine. Hundreds of these chemicals are banned in Europe, yet they're ubiquitous in America. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic wastes. Okay? So we have a chronic health epidemic because really we could say it's an epidemic of poor dietary habits. And also we gotta say sedentary, is we don't move our bodies enough. We need to be more active all the time, okay? I've had the opportunity to go to Europe, and I can tell you they do eat differently, and they are much more active. They're walking everywhere, okay? All right, we gotta talk about one more thing, and that's Ozempic. So there's this, I would say, this craze over Ozempic. Let's see, the statistic I think I heard was 5% of Americans. It's like 20 million Americans are on Ozempic right now. That's a lot of Ozempic, and we're using it because we want this shortcut, this instant cure to weight loss. And I have seen some of my colleagues use Ozempic, and I guess because it's an easy way to make money. I'd invite you to think twice about any doctor, any practitioner who is recommending Ozempic to you, unless maybe if you have diabetes or there's a real great indication to use that. It is a bit nuanced, but not as a quick and easy solution as our first line of attack for weight loss. We can't do that, okay? And why shouldn't we be doing that? There is a black box warning, which is the highest warning that we have for thyroid cancer as a possible outcome of using Ozempic, okay? Obesity is completely preventable and barely existed 100 years ago. It is not from an Ozempic deficiency, okay? We have to address the underlying cause. This stuff can cost as much as $1,500 a month. And they want to give it to children as young as 6 years old and really have them be on it for life. That's really the plan. So it's a huge money grab for these pharmaceutical companies and is going to take a huge toll. And Robert Kennedy mentioned this. He says it almost seems vulgar or disgusting to bring up money, but this is taking a huge toll on our economy. We're spending much more on the health of our citizens through pharmaceutical means than we are even on our defense budget. So we have to address this. So is what they're saying is if they all took Ozempic, it would be $3 trillion a year. $3 trillion a year. And so they're saying, you know, for a fraction of that price, we could actually address the root cause. And, you know, again, not to be too political, I've never been a big fan of universal health care. But the main reason for that is because it doesn't address the root cause. We're trying to use pharmaceuticals to address these serious health issues, and it's a shortcut. It's not really solving the problem. It's not getting to the root cause. But if we could take that money, $3 trillion a year, for just a fraction of that, we could address the underlying cause. We could actually even just give food to, or you know, three meals a day of high quality organic food, non-processed, and we'd be fixing the problem. Okay. Now, whether we choose to do that or not as a country, I am just saying it would be a better option than giving everyone Ozempic. Okay. So symptoms are the language of the body. It's the body screaming at you, trying to tell you that something's wrong and you need to make a change. So if we're taking Ozempic and these other drugs to cover up our symptoms and we're not really addressing them, then those problems grow over time. So I mentioned with Ozempic, black box warning is thyroid cancer. There is an increased rate of suicidal ideations. It comes with a whole list of side effects, just like every pharmaceutical drug. And we don't want to be dealing with that. We want to be getting to the root cause and making sure we are healthy from the inside, okay? That it's coming from our bodies, okay? And from the food that we eat. So again, Robert Kennedy's quote that he finished with was, "We need to love our children more than we hate each other." And so maybe you're not that interested in working on your health. If you have kids, grandkids, and you know, any influence on children, then I hope you'll take this seriously, and that we can come together and we can help our children who are the future, the next generation. The predictions are that this generation is not going to live as long as the generation before. This one of the first times in American history that's happened, is that we're going to outlive. We'll have the older generation, so the baby boomers and so forth, they'll have more longevity than the generations to follow them. So as parents and as Americans, I invite you all to stand in solidarity with me, and let's make America healthy again. Let's do whatever it takes, and we're here to help you with that journey. And if you need us, Casey and Callie Means, they have a new book called Good Energy. I'm waiting for my copy. I think it's going to be a great one. There's a lot of resources, so we're all in it together, and we'll do whatever we have to do. Thanks so much.